Alright, it's time for the Tower card, and this is another card that freaks everybody out, but it does not need to. So let's discuss what this means. So in this card there's usually the image of a tower and it's next to the water. There's a thunderstorm and some sort of lightning situation happening. And then there are people that are falling out of the tower down into the rocky abyss below. So the tower represents a major disruption in life, right? Something happening that's shocking that you didn't expect and you're like, oh my goodness, and it shakes the whole foundation of your life. So the lightning that we see is, let's discuss lightning. Let's move into the card. So the lightning is something that is shocking, something that is fast, abrupt, and sudden, right? So that is representing some sort of thing that happens in your life that you weren't expecting, and there it was suddenly, and it creates some sort of major change. This change probably feels emotionally like disruption. It feels like things breaking down. It feels like things crumbling and falling, like all of the bricks that are falling down into the water. It feels like things dismantling. So what I get from this card is that because the lightning is from the sky, the forces that happen, I don't want to say that they're forces from God. Let me think about how I want to say this. It's almost like things that are happening that are actually for your greatest good, right? Like they may feel difficult when they occur, and they probably feel very emotionally disorienting, but in the long run, these changes are for your highest good because they are breaking down false premises. They're breaking down things in your life that don't serve you. They're actually breaking down things that are trapping you, right? Because this is a tower. Usually, people are locked up in towers, right? So the tower is representative of things that were actually holding you back. Things that were making you, that were actually imprisoning you and making you feel trapped. And maybe you didn't even know that these were the things that were making you feel trapped, right? Maybe you thought that it was something else that was making you feel trapped, or maybe you didn't feel trapped at all. Maybe you didn't even realize that you were in the tower, right? But then this thing happens and it comes from the sky and it shatters part of the wall in the tower, and then suddenly you're like, oh my goodness, I've been in a tower this whole time and I didn't even know, right? So that's what this card represents. It's something happening. It is for your greatest good. It shatters the tower. It shatters the illusion. It shatters the thing that has actually been entrapping you and holding you back that you may not even have known was holding you back, right? So this is actually a very positive card that could feel very much like emotional turmoil until you realize the higher sort of truth of this card, the higher truth of this archetype that is being presented here. So know that if you are having a tower situation happen in your life, that things are being created for your highest and best good. Things that are not serving you are being taken away. So it's kind of like things are either serving you, let me think about how to say this. Things are either helping you or hindering you. That's the word I'm looking for. So what this is saying is that the things that have been hindering you are being taken away. Circumstances and events are happening that are causing those hindrances to be knocked down, dismantled, discarded, broken up into pieces, okay? So this is actually setting you free. It is actually allowing you to move into a greater sense of your own power, your own understanding of yourself, and basically a better life, okay? So that's like my first primary interpretation of this card. This other interpretation that comes to me when I move into this card is walls that you have created and built, right? At some point you built the tower, right? So it's the walls that you have created to keep yourself walled off from either other people, or to keep yourself walled off from certain knowing, or to keep yourself walled off from your higher knowing or your guidance, or to keep yourself separate from situations, or maybe even people, right? And the other thing that it could be is walls within yourself that you have built, like some sort of thing that you have erected to push people away that you may or may not have realized that you have been doing, right? So if you are one way with your friends because you feel safe and accepted, and then when you get with your family, you're another way, and you have this sort of like false facade that you put up, right? This wall that you put up in order to create some sort of a division between you and them because you feel fear. The Tower card can represent that sort of false facade breaking down. That the need to have the wall to protect yourself is starting to crumble, right? It's no longer necessary. So if you have built some sort of wall, you know, there was a reason for it. On some way it was serving you and it was helping you. So what this is telling me now with the Tower card is that's no longer serving and helping you, and it's time for you to move beyond that perception of yourself or that identity of yourself. All right, let's talk about the reverse energy of the Tower card. So this can, if I reverse the energy, okay, and I move into it this way, it feels to me like, you know, the walls are definitely coming down, things are definitely crumbling, but you're resisting, right? Like, you're not actually jumping out the window and leaving the tower. You are instead, you know, trying to hang on. You're trying to keep things the way they are. Like, you're frantically trying to take the bricks of the tower and put them back in, right? You're like, nope, nope, nope. I'm trying to hold the inevitable back, right? I'm going to be resistant, and I'm just going to keep trying to make everything the way it was before, even though that's clearly definitely not going to happen, and I know that it's not going to happen, but I'm doing it anyway out of, like, it's almost like fertility, right? It's just, it's not going to get you anywhere. The other thing that I feel about the Tower reversed is resistance to all sorts of change in general. So things are actually happening around you, and you are turning a blind eye, and you are not listening, and you are not heeding your guidance. You're not listening to any of the signs outside of you, which are very clear and very loud, and you're just going, nope, that's not happening. That's not happening, right? So denial is what I get from this card reversed. The other thing that I get is not seeing the writing on the wall. Not acknowledging what is actually occurring, like being in the past, continuously focusing on what was and thinking that that's actually what's occurring when that's not what's happening. Like, the present is here and you're the only one who didn't notice, all right? So very, very much stuck, stagnant, not wanting to move forward. And even though things have already happened and things have already sped along, you're the only one that isn't acknowledging it and seeing it clearly. The other thing that I get from this reverse Tower card is clinging to the old, being nostalgic, wishing things were the way that they used to be, and kind of like romanticizing the past. Like, oh, it was so wonderful and merry before, when really, no, it wasn't, right? But you still think that it was because you haven't, like, moved into the present. So this can also represent, like, lots of attachments to the past way of doing things, thinking, past patterns of behavior, past ways of relating to people, and they're just not relevant anymore. So it's really like some sort of pattern that you keep doing, that if you were actually acknowledging the truth and acknowledging what's going on now and what's happened, you would make different choices and you wouldn't do that anymore, right? Like, you'd be like, oh, okay, well, let me take this new information into consideration. Okay, let me choose a new thing, and then you would, like, do that thing and you'd move forward. But instead you don't, and you just keep, like, replaying and living in the past, okay? So that is what I've got for the Tower card. Let's move on to the Star, which is the next card.